Hey everybody, welcome back to the Jays with Down Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jay, and here today with Nick Winkler, of course, of the Locked On 49ers podcast. Nick, thanks for joining us today. Here to talk some football, some interesting storylines heading into, I believe it's week 13. Week 13 of the NFL. So, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure. You said it, man. This is going to be a wild week in the NFL. I love it.
Yeah. So, first off, we had a last night's game, Thursday night, Bills and the Patriots. Huge game for both of those teams. However, the Patriots' inept offense kills them once again, man. I was looking at that game, and it's just like, I don't know, man. It's just they're struggling to create some kind of identity offensively. The flow's not there. I mean, I don't know what's going on, man.
Yeah, I think you said it. I just think there's no flow, right? It's you saw it in Mac Jones, right, when he erupted on the sidelines, talking about let's throw the ball, right? Like this quick game stuff isn't working, and he's right. It wasn't working. When they started to stretch the field there at the end, I get it. The Bills were in a little bit of a prevent defense there at the end, but they were moving the ball, right? And you got to take chances in the NFL unless you've got just the best running game. Unless you're like the Baltimore Ravens, right? Like if you can run the ball every down, and get first downs consistently, you can do that. Otherwise, you need to stretch the field and you need to open things up. And they really weren't doing that for the first three quarters of that football game. And you can understand why Mac Jones would be upset, because he looks bad, right? He looks like, it's all on Mac Jones. But if he's the one who's wanting to open it up and they're like, let's keep it tight, then you could understand why he'd be frustrated by that.
Yeah. I mean, as we saw that video, it went around all social media. He's like, man, just throw the effing ball.
Yeah.
It's like, quit throwing it short. He was visibly frustrated. And he said in the press conference, he said, it wasn't directed at anybody specifically. He just thought that the offense needed to more chunk plays, instead of just the little short passes down the field. He was very upset with that.
And you want that in your quarterback, right? You want a guy who's going to let his emotions get the best of him sometimes, especially when they're losing. You don't want him to just be like, whatever, it's just a game. Like, no, you could tell he cares about football and he wants to win. And he knew that what they were doing wasn't going to allow them to win that football game. So, yeah, you don't want it all the time. You don't want him directing it at certain people. So when you just yell it into the air like that, it's like, I'm going to throw this out into the ether and see what sticks.
Yeah. Yeah, he sure did. And so... yeah, man. So the Bills move on to 9-3 on the year, and the Patriots fall to 6-6. So I mean, not completely out of things, but you want to. They got to get back on track there. And look, and a lot of fans out there, especially New England fans, they're mad. But you have to understand when you have a natural defensive guy and a special teams coach calling plays offensively,
right?
You can't expect too much.
Yeah. And it's not like they have these super fast, speedy receivers either. Like a lot of their guys are possession guys, right? They're guys that Kendrick Bourne, for instance, on the 49ers, he was third down specialist because he'd get to the sticks. He's a big body. He'd go up and make a play and he'd get you that first down. Those aren't the kind of Nelson Aguilar. Like these aren't guys that are going to speed past you, right? So you got to kind of go with what your team's built as, right? And that's they're built as run the ball. We got a good defense, protect the ball. We'll move the sticks when we need to. And doesn't sound like Mac Jones is buying in too much of that.
No, not at all. And as you said, Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, although they're both great football players.
Sure.
And Devontae Parker also in that receiver.
He's the one guy that can stretch the field.
One guy. But it's just, and then Ramondre Stevenson, they said this on the broadcast last night that he accounted for almost a third of the offensive scrimmage yards this whole season.
Yeah,
so
he's
take
good.
What you got,
Right.
So, I mean, he's a great back too. I love Ramondre Stevenson. Very physical. He's hit the hole. He can catch the ball out the backfield. So it's a guy. He's a guy that the Patriots love to get the ball to, but overall they just struggle. So, I mean, do you think are the Bills? I know they were questionable. A few weeks ago. They lost a couple games. Are they still those high favorites in the AFC or? The Chiefs?
Yeah, I mean, I'd put them right behind the Chiefs, right? I mean, I think you have the Chiefs number one right now. The Bills are probably number two. I mean, Josh Allen had, one of his poorest games statistically last night and still was pretty dominant, right? I mean, that jump pass going out of bounds, like that was incredible. And the long bomb to Stephon Diggs that got called back because of the holding. Like he is still a great quarterback. He's still, top 2, top 3 in the league. I would take him in a heartbeat on my football team, as I'm sure anybody who didn't have Patrick Mahomes as their quarterback would do the same. So, he's solid. That defense is good. I mean, obviously they missed Von Miller, but hopefully he can rest up and come back in time for the playoffs. And I think that Buffalo is going to be one of those teams that's standing, at the AFC Championship game at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think so. And like you say, Josh Allen, he threw for 223 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, good game, but we're expecting, but he
pedestrian.
Yeah, and so
not a Josh Allen game,
not a Josh Allen type of game. But again, like you said, facing that good Patriots defense,
and it got it done,
and he got it done. So they move on with the win there. But a lot of people are talking about this weekend's a big matchup between the San Francisco 49ers and the Miami Dolphins. Mike McDaniel gets his old boss, Kyle Shanahan. So give me your thoughts on that. What's this game going to be like, and what's key to getting the win there for San Fran?
Yeah, I mean, good news for the 49ers. It looks like it might rain. And I think that'll slow up that Miami Dolphins offense, which is predicated on speed. So that would actually be really beneficial for the 49ers if it was kind of a wet and sloppy game, because they're going to miss Elijah Mitchell. Obviously, that injury hurts. Jordan Mason, the undrafted rookie free agent, he's ready to step up. You'll see some Tyrion Davis-Price as well. And you just hope that Christian McCaffrey's knee isn't anything serious, right? You just hope that it's one of those things that it was feeling weird for him, right? And then all of a sudden he'll be back to full health this weekend. And the defense is going to get a boost too. I mean, they're already the number 1 defense in the NFL, and they played most of the season without Eric Armstead. He's supposed to be back for the 49ers as well on that defensive line. It's going to make them even more stout. And you really like what's going on with the 49ers the last 5 games. They've looked fantastic. The Dolphins have looked great as well. I mean, this is easily the matchup of the weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun with so many storylines too, with Mike McDaniel and Raheem Mostert, and they traded Jeff Wilson. There's so many things that are going into this game that, I think that right now it's leaning in the 49ers' favor. Again, I think the weather has a big role in that coming in. If it's a nice, clear, warm game, it's a coin flip for me.
Yeah, and like you say, and I have to just give credit here to Mike McDaniel, the job that he's doing down there in Miami. Impressive, very impressive first year head coach. And the thing I like about him, man, you probably noticed covering San Fran, but he's a real cool, mellow guy.
Yeah.
And that's the type of coach that players really like. He can connect with them better. And so, what are your thoughts on how he's been doing down there in Miami this year?
I mean, it's fantastic, right? A head coach can really set the culture, right, for the entire franchise, for the entire locker room. And he immediately, showed up on his private jet. And he called Tua, and he's dressed to the T, and he's just like, look, I've never done this before, but we got this. And there's a really funny, he was mic'd up recently. There's a really funny clip of him talking to his guys, and he's like, hey guys, I think I just want to pass the ball every single play on this drive. Tell me if I'm crazy though. Somebody tell me I'm crazy. Like he's speaking, he's just like, this is what's on my mind. Tell me if you guys don't think it'll work, and I'll change it. But this is what I want to do. And that he's going to trust those guys, too. You can just hear it in his voice that he believes his guys. He surrounded himself with smart people, with guys that he trusts. And he trusts Tua. And Tua trusts him, too. And that's a big thing. And Tua even mentioned that. He said, it's amazing what happens when someone believes in you. And that the franchise before him didn't want him. They wanted him out. And then, all of a sudden Mike McDaniel comes in. He's like, no, you're my guy. I'm going to build the offense around you, and we're going to be great. And Tua's, right up there, top 3-4 guys in the league for MVP this season. So you got to really like what Mike McDaniel's done there in Miami.
Yes, he's done a great job. And again, it's that being able to build that connection with the players, which is important in a locker room. If you're a head coach, and so and on any level, and particularly in the NFL where it matters the most. And so the fact that he's able to do that in his first year and then the success they've had,
amazing.
I'm really impressed by it, And so that's just, it's gonna, like you said, it's gonna be a really great game. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's an important game for both teams, particularly the 49ers. So and just Jimmy Garoppolo, man, he's been playing really well these last couple of games too. I mean, how big is his jump in play been for the team?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, he's really taken that next step, right? I mean, he's always been a pretty accurate passer, but he makes those mistakes, right? And you saw, I don't know if you watched the football game, last Sunday, but he did make a mistake, and it was a pick, and it was almost a pick six, but there was a penalty on the play, so it came back. So, like, when it happened, I had that thought of, like, oh, no, don't revert to the old Jimmy, don't do it. And then, he played a pretty flawless game the rest of the way. And, yeah, they only scored 13 points, but New Orleans defense is solid. They got healthy right before this game. And they showed that they had a good football team, and obviously the 49ers were a better football team. And, you like what Jimmy's doing. He's got a lot of weapons out there. He's got Debo. He's finding Ayuk. Juwan Jennings is just incredible with what he's doing right now on this football team, just punishing defensive backs on runs, and he's looking great catching third down passes, and that touchdown was pretty impressive that he had laying on the ground. Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that would probably be, in the starting lineup for, 15 other football teams in this league. We mentioned the Patriots. Like, he's a perfect Patriots receiver. He's big, he's strong, he's possession. And the 49ers use it to the best of his ability, and I think we're going to see more out of him as the double teams continue on Debo, and people really start noticing, hey, when we double Debo, then Ayuk's open. So we got to, spend some guys that way. And then it's like, oh, Juwan Jennings is even more open. So what the Niners are doing on offense right now is great. And what Jimmy's doing is even better because he's not forcing it, right? He's finding that open guy. He's doing something that he didn't do a whole lot of before Christian McCaffrey got there, and that's dumping the ball off to his running back. They just didn't do that. That wasn't part of the 49ers offense under Kyle Shanahan, but he's had to make a bit of an adjustment. And why wouldn't you when you have a guy like Christian McCaffrey? Like, get the guy the ball. Stop running in between the tackles. Get him in space. Let's go.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey, electric out the backfield, catching passes particularly. It's one season, I believe it was 17, he had 1,000 rushing yards and receiving yards. I mean, he's
crazy. Over 100 receptions, like, just crazy.
Yeah. Crazy, man. So in the NFC West is kind of it. Honestly, man, I mean, the West and the East, I really believe are the best divisions in the NFC this year. You look at it across the board. I mean, the Giants, they've had a great year under Brian DeBall, and and right behind the Cowboys there. So
yeah,
it's
what the Commanders is doing is impressive too, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, and then the Eagles, right? I mean, you're talking about a team, a conference or a division right now that could have all three wild cards. So it's crazy.
Yes, it is. So this is always the best part of the season, man. It's like we're past Thanksgiving, so after Thanksgiving and going into December, these last couple weeks in December, man, just getting ready for January postseason play. I really believe it's where the NFL gets to its highest level of play, into the playoffs, and I love it. It's competitive. It's cold outside, and you got all this weather. Well, except for in San Francisco. But
it's actually really cold here right now. It's in the 50s, which for here is really cold. It was in the 30s this morning. No, it's cold all across the country right now.
Oh, okay. Well, you see, I've never been in California, so
yeah. But over here it's 60, and they're like, "Oh, it's freezing. Oh, what's happening?"
Right. It's like 10 degrees in New England, right?
Right.
But one other thing I wanted to get at, Nick, here is Antonio Brown. I'm sure you probably heard about what happened. Had a warrant issued for his arrest. The former Steelers and Bucs wide receiver had a warrant out for domestic battery. Apparently, he threw a shoe at the mother of his children, and so he was caught in a standoff in his house with the police. Everything, man. Your thoughts on this fiasco, man? Like, let's
yeah. You used the right word, man. It's a fiasco, and it just feels like the last 4 or 5 years, anything with Antonio Brown, sometimes it looks nice, right? It looks good. He goes to Tampa Bay. It's like, oh, he's going to resurrect his career. This guy's got so much talent. There was a 4-year stretch where he was the best receiver in the NFL.
Yeah.
And then just then he walks off the field and takes off his jersey, and then he puts fake naked pictures of Giselle up, and it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, these people are trying to help you, and you're just burning the bridge, and it's like, this is the mother of your child. Like, I don't care. You throw a shoe at her? Like, who throws a shoe? Am I right? I mean, it's really hard to think logically about stuff like this, because I don't think there's a whole lot of logic behind his actions.
I don't either, man. And like you said, it's crazy. Antonio Brown at one point in his career was, like you said, was one of the best receivers in the NFL.
Yeah.
He was doing great up there in Pittsburgh, and then of course, some stuff went on there, and they went to the Raiders. That we all, remember what happened there.
Yeah.
Then Tom Brady calls him like, "Hey man, come to the Patriots. I want to help you out, man. You know, I believe we can be cool. You know,
let him stay in his house.
Yeah, let him stay in his house." And one game there, and then after that, something else happens, and then Tampa Bay. Tom's calling in, "Hey man, look, I want to try this again." You know, and they, he came over. They won a Super Bowl, and then I just.
Yeah,
I feel bad.
Yeah, it's weird, man. It's weird. It's unfortunate, is what it is. What about this OBJ stuff? I heard he got taken off a plane or something.
It's
being unruly.
I don't know, man. It's just crazy. Odell Beckham, yes, he apparently got taken off a plane. He was conscious and some other stuff going on there. I don't know exactly the details of that, but it was a situation. But that leads me to this though. Where do you think he'll sign? Because he is healthy now. He already met with the Giants. Apparently, he had dinner with them last night. They both said it went well, according to him. He said it went good. That's all he said.
Yeah. If I had to put money on it right now, Dallas Cowboys. I mean, you line him up opposite CeeDee Lamb. Ooh, you got Michael Gallup out there as well. Like you actually start using Pollard in the backfield, the better of the two backs that you got. That's a force to be reckoned with there at the Cowboys. I hope they don't sign him just as a 49er fan. I'd rather him go somewhere else. But I think the betting odds right now would say that he's going to land with the Cowboys.
I think so. Beckham is, as you remember when he was with the Rams, with the Rams last year, he was a huge help to that offense and that team.
He was on his way to becoming Super Bowl MVP before he got hurt. I mean, the guy's a great football player for sure.
Yeah, he sure is, man. And suffered that terrible injury, and so I'm glad that he's healed now and he's ready to get back out there and play some football. So interested to see what happens there with him. And if it is to Jerry's world he goes, well, that'll be. I'm sure a lot of Cowboys fans will love that addition there.
Yeah, for sure.
But as Nick, as we wind out here to finish out the season, well, pretty soon in a couple of weeks, I still can't even. I remember. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's going by fast.
Almost done. Are you still? Last time we talked, you still Eagles kind of iffy about them, but then the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings have been playing really well too. I mean, so are we? Is Minnesota like up there with those top teams in the NFL this year?
I think you have to put them there, right? I think you need to put the 49ers in that category too, which is how their defense is playing. They got healthy, and look at how good they are, right? They're the number 3 spot in the NFC, right behind the Vikings, who are right behind the Eagles. So, yeah, I think any of those teams. And then if the Cowboys go get OBJ, like, watch out. Like that, you're talking about a pretty fantastic top 4 right there in the NFC. And then you never know, too, with wild cards coming in and everything. But, no, I like what the Vikings are doing. They got a tough test this weekend, and as do the 49ers. So, this is the best time of year, December. We're going to start getting Saturday games pretty soon, too. Like, let's go.
Man, I just love football, man. Don't you?
I do.
So, yeah, as you mentioned, Vikings playing really well. Kirk Cousins, of course, everybody you're saying he wrote him off, Kirk,
Yeah.
But, man, he's been doing his job. He's been playing well, and just being that guy, doing his job right there, and a lot of people want the flashy. Everybody's gotta understand, like, not every quarterback is like Patrick Mahomes. Josh, there's only reason that.
Yeah. But everybody wants them, right? Everybody's looking for that top guy.
I mean, those guys only come around once every century. So
yeah, I mean, Kirk Cousins is a top 12, 13 quarterback in the NFL, and his numbers are helped greatly by having the number 1 receiver in the NFL right now. So, obviously that helped. The addition of TJ Hawkinson was also really big for them. I mean, he's been a nice outlet for him. And you're starting to see Adam Thielen come back as well. So, yeah, the Vikings are a good team. They definitely you belong up there. Anytime you're talking about people that can win the NFC, they're near the top for sure.
Yeah, so like you said, this is going to be a very interesting stretch of football here these next couple weeks, and I'm really interested to see what teams are going to stay pushing at it, or if everybody's going to slip, because it's a test.
Someone will. Multiple teams will slip, and multiple teams will rise. That's why it's so much fun to watch, right?
That's why it's the NFL, man.
They always say, if the season ended today, well, it doesn't, and it's not going to look like that when the season ends.
No, it won't. You know, I mean, that it's the parody, man. You don't know. It's the unknown, and so that's what makes it so exciting as football fans, as those who cover the game. It's just really exciting to watch and to witness. So, Nick, before we close out here, man, just any last thoughts, man? You know, so far season, your 49ers. You know, what's the future looking like ahead, man?
Yeah, I mean, there's an interesting thing going on with the 49ers right now, too, where they only have 2 designate to return from IR spots left. And so they might not put Elijah Mitchell on there. And that's because there's talk that they're hoping to get Trey Lance back at the end of the season. So that's always – it is a possibility that he does come back there late. And maybe, you know, you squeeze him in on a package here and there. Who knows? I mean, if he comes back, obviously Jimmy's not giving up that job. He's played well enough where he's going to keep it. But that's just something to keep an eye on here over the next 4 or 5 weeks as the season winds down and see what the 49ers do with those last 2 spots. Because there's also got Javon Kinlaw out there who's great on that defensive line who, you know, will need to come back. And if they put Elijah Mitchell on IR too, only 2 of those guys will be able to come back before the, you know, both season starts. So keep an eye on something interesting.
Okay, yeah, and I'm sure our San Francisco fans there are very excited to hear that little surprise.
We'll see, right?
We'll see what happens. You know, this little
might not happen, but you know, would be pretty interesting.
Okay, yeah, it would be really. It would be very interesting. But I know this. I can definitely confirm that the San Francisco 49ers are a really good football team this year, and you know, they should be treated like one because I mean they always have I don't know what it's like we talked about this before, man. They've had the best defense it seems like for a long time now. I don't know what it is. It's like.
You look at their draft. They've spent a lot of draft picks on the defense, especially on the defensive line, you know, and then you hit with a guy like Fred Warner in the 3rd round, and it's just like, boom, now we got the best middle linebacker to go with these guys. And a good defensive line will make up for a poor secondary because they'll put pressure on the quarterback and make him get rid of the ball fast. If he has all day to stand back there and he'll pick apart the best secondary in the league. It doesn't matter. Right? So you get some guys that can rush the quarterback like a Nick Bosa, you know, you get an Armstead back. Drake Jackson looks like he's the real deal, the rookie this year. So, yeah, they build on defense, and it's a smart thing to do because you're always in a defense wins championships.
Yes, it does, which is what I wish my Falcons would play some good defense. You know, but, hey, man, just in that spot, you know, we're just in that spot, that little rough patch. You know, I mean, hey, you remember now San Francisco went through this a few years back before it was before Shanahan got there, I believe, and then even his first year there, they weren't that good, but they
were bad,
very bad, and it just sometimes just takes that time just to build up.
Yeah,
and, you know,
sometimes it takes like what's happening with Miami, like what happened with the New York Jets, right? You get a good coach in there that you know affects change and really you know you project winning on your team, they go out and they win football games. So hopefully, you know, the Falcons can get themselves some more young talent in the draft next year because they've already got a bunch, and you got to solve that quarterback problem. Jimmy Garoppolo could be the quarterback next year.
Well, I would not be opposed.
No, that'd be silly. He's got a great record as a starting quarterback in the NFL.
He sure does, and he's a champ too. So
exactly.
But, and like you said, man, we lost Kyle Pitts for the rest of the season to knee injury, tough blow there. But yeah, I'm just interested to see how they play over these next couple of weeks. Again, somehow they're still in the hunt, you know, because NFC South is kind of a toss-up right now. So
win some football games, you can make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, most definitely. So that's what happens when your division is very bad.
Exactly. It happens. Hey, it happened in the West a few years ago too. You know, Seahawks got in with a really poor record. Hey, all you got to do is get in that tournament. You can make a little run.
Yeah, that's it. That's it, man. So, but Nick, thank you for joining us here on Jay's Fit Down. Once again, as always, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Make sure you guys check out Locked On 49ers there where Nick gives his opinions, his thoughts there on that podcast. Great stuff they got. And check us out here on Jay's Fit Down for more as we get closer to Sunday. Again, the matchup everybody's talking about, the 49ers and the Dolphins, Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan. It's going to be a fun one at 4:05 on Fox, so make sure you guys don't miss that game. I'm excited for it, Nick.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. But thank you for joining us today, man.
You bet. Thanks, Jake.
Of course.